I'm Bill. How are you? Welcome.
He's my dad. We are going to talk about something that I think is fascinating, and I think you're going to be very interested in this. And this is about the concept and opening of the Disneyana store on Main Street in Disneyland. As Bill mentioned, I think our first video, he was one of the opening. He was in the opening management team of Walt Disney World in 1971 and 72, and then he eventually found his way out to Los Angeles, where he then was in charge of merchandising for both Disney World and Disneyland. So Barton Boyd, Bo Boyd, he's there's lots of data out there about him, books been written about him, etc. He ultimately became the chairman of Disney Consumer Products. He was, would you agree, he was your mentor
For sure.
and a
A
friend?
good friend, and
Yeah.
I miss him every day.
Yeah, so he hired my father back in the day, and so Bo comes to you and he says, Bill, we have some space on Main Street, and we think it would be cool to have a memorabilia store, for lack of a better word, having Disney products in it. What happened next?
Good question. I had no idea at the time how big a question that was going to be. But they had a spot, and Bo had identified a spot at Disneyland, as you said, Todd, in the old lamp shop, and they wanted a shop that would be called the Disneyana shop.
So that name was given to
It
you.
was given to me. There was no research or no name lists. It was Disneyana. It was actually a book that came out a couple of years before called Disneyana. And that's what defined the term that described old Disney merchandise, primarily from the 30s and 40s and 50s. That was kind of like the golden era of Disney memorabilia, as Todd said. So they just appropriated the name and made it the title of the store. So I was given the challenge by Bo to, there wasn't any script for it. We had to sort of make it up as we went along.
Let me just ask you one question. Do you know why they thought this would be successful? Because if I remember this, a lot of the items in there, they're fairly expensive.
They were expensive, items like the Ingersoll original Mickey Mouse watch, that would be an example. And there were a lot of money to get a hold of one of those. And then there was a plush doll called the Charlotte Clark. It was the very first Mickey doll called the Charlotte Clark Mickey Mouse doll. Very, very expensive.
Wasn't there like a wooden radio too? It had like a
Wouldn't look.
wooden look.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It looked like it was hand carved, like it was out of the Pinocchio movie or something.
Okay.
Kind
So do you think that they thought that it was more about kind of a cool and interesting experience, or were they looking to make money with this stuff?
I think they were more interested in the experience. It was almost like, merchandising, which was our department. Merchandising could have their version of the castle, their version of the Haunted Mansion. They can have an experience, and that's just one of the contributions that our department can make. So money it wasn't a priority. I don't remember Bo ever mentioning that as an objective. So I had to sit down and figure, where do I go from here? I knew that Disney memorabilia was mostly, the golden area was mostly defined by the 30s and the 40s and 50s. Walt turned over the licensing. He started it. He turned it over to a guy named Kay Kamen. If you ever want to Google Kay Kamen Disney merchandise catalog, you won't believe how sophisticated those were. I have one.
Even back in the day.
Back in the day, they were, I mean, Walt Disney, he invented licensing, he's the guy that started this whole thing. So it was kind of a tribute to Walt Disney, and it was an experience for Disneyland. So I had to figure out where to go from here. I knew I was figuring out pretty quickly that this was an important responsibility. It's not like opening another souvenir store. So Bo had to give me one kind of hint. He said, Ralph Kent, who's the art director at Disney World, he said, he's a collector and he knows the stuff. He says, so go down and talk to him. So I did go down and talk to him, and I said, hey, would you become part of my team to pull this off? And he said, sure.
Let me tell you, you get these collectors really wound up when they think you're interested in what they do. I'm a collector. My dad's a collector, and we are all about our collections. And when we can find someone that's somewhat interested, that makes them pretty
Yeah,
excited.
he
So
was.
you probably didn't have to pay him, right?
No, I didn't pay him anything. But he was being paid by Disney
Right.
World, as the art director. And then there was one other guy that Bo said, you got to talk to him too. His name was Dave Smith, and he was the archivist located in Burbank, California for the whole company.
Man, that would be a cool job, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So he said, this guy knows a lot about Disney, everything Disney. So I went down and I met Dave Smith, kind of interviewed him a little bit. I said, would you become part of this experience? And he said, sure, I'd be happy to. And I said, I'd like you to, help me authenticate. I want to do this right and do it for the right reasons. So I had kind of my team. And then I knew the next thing I had to do was go out and acquire this stuff. Now, where do you acquire it?
Yeah, let's stop with that because that's really an interesting piece, I think. So pre-internet, you're not going to Google, you're not going to go on eBay.
It's good. It's a good stoppage for you to bring it
Right?
up.
So you're going to have to get on an airplane, basically, right? Because this stuff's strewn all over the country. How did you know what to buy first? Because you had to. By the way, did you have a list of items that you wanted, or was that list built upon what you found?
Was really more the latter. Okay. It was based upon what I found, but I did have a context of what I might be interested in and what to look for, and I got that out of the Disneyana book. So I read the Disneyana book cover to cover, and it's just full. You can get the Disneyana book, I'm sure it's on eBay,
Oh, yeah.
and where was I? And loaded with beautiful photographs, and so a lot of that was in there.
So did the collector guy, was his name Stan? Was that the right guy?
Ralph Kent.
Did Ralph say to you, I think you should go to this store? Or how did you know where to go?
He might have told me there was like categories of places that I should go. One of them is trade shows. Is there any memorabilia trade shows? Yeah, there is.
Toy shows.
Yeah, there's some toy memorabilia shows. You can also Google that, and I'm sure many of those are still listed. Auctions. Estate sales would be another category, and then there was a few retail stores. One of them, which is very interesting, Gasoline Alley, was in Seattle. And he was known for having lots of memorabilia, but his store was full of cartoon memorabilia, all kinds of cartoon, including
horse collar?
Yeah, all of those guys. And he had some Mickey Mouse stuff too. So he was on my radar right away, and it was a big store.
And this is where you were spending other people's money, right?
I was spending other people's money, and I soon learned there was some dynamics under this thing. I couldn't go out and talk about I was a Disney guy because the prices were going to be 2 or 3 times more money. So I had to go a little incognito, I didn't want to lie to anybody.
Did you come when you were like all dirty and messy?
No, but I was street clothes.
Street clothes. No suit.
No suit for sure. I found out later that a couple people at a trade show thought I was a treasury man, T-man, looking for people and violating IRS laws, because they say this guy there's something, he's coming in here, he's buying a lot of stuff.
He's not supposed to be here.
No, he's buying a lot of stuff,
So when you went to Gasoline Alley in Seattle, you flew up there from LA or whatever. Do you remember the first item you bought? The very first thing you put into your shopping cart?
Probably an Ingersoll Mickey Mouse watch, which is classic, fundamental.
Gotta have it.
So, and I came with a lot of cash. I don't even know if they use traveler's checks anymore, but Disney gave me a bunch of traveler's checks. So that there was, some tracking, but it was better than cash. But you can't have a check that says Walt Disney on it, So there were traveler's checks, and that's what I used. And then I had to sort of account back for accounting against the traveler's check number.
Can you give our viewers any sense of what the markups would have been like? Let's say do you remember what the watch cost by any chance? And was it $100 back in 75?
Yeah, I'm guessing, Todd. I would imagine it probably retailed at that time. This goes back to the 70s, right? Or 1975, 1976. I would say it probably retailed at that time for $200 or $300. So I probably paid $100 or $150 for it, something like that.
And that was all you. That was your decision about what stuff would sell for. Was there? Were you
Yeah,
hoping to
and
get?
I wanted to be fair, and not overcharge, and not just double, everything that I bought, and you don't care what the retail price is. I became very aware and conscious of what these antiques memorabilia were selling for in different places. I could see it right in the trade shows, and I could see it in the auctions and all that.
So what you're saying, I think, Dad, is that people are willing to pay a little bit more because they're at Disneyland, but they're not going to pay 3 times more.
And I didn't want them to feel hurt. I didn't want to take advantage of
Happiest place on earth, right? You can't do that.
Yeah, I don't want to turn it into the saddest place. So I'll tell you one funny story about Gasoline Alley. I just touch on that real fast. The owner proprietor was in for a little bit of a trip that day because I got a shopping cart, and I ended up shopping carting 25% of his entire store, and he was just beside himself. He didn't know what to do.
Did he close the store down for you?
He said, he says, what's going on? I mean, he says, I said, well, if you don't want to sell it, I don't want to buy it. I mean, I don't want to do anything that you wouldn't be happy with. No, I want to sell it. But he says, my store's going to look terrible tomorrow. I won't have anything in it. And where are you from? And outer space? And who are you? And I told him.
Eventually, you told him.
I just told him. I said, I'm from Disney. We're going to open up a Disney member.
Did he give you
He said, okay, I feel a little bit better. I kind of understand, what's going on. But that was a lot of money. I'm sure that I spent at that time in the 70s, $20,000, $30,000 with him that day. It's not like going into Kroger and spending $100.
So he was okay with it was Disney. You decided that you weren't going to mark him up too much. Did you ever go back to the guy again and buy more stuff, or was
I think I did.
Okay, a couple times maybe.
Yeah. But my job was to launch it, get it opened.
And then you turn it over to a manager?
I wanted to turn it over to somebody because let me tell you what, it's a lot of work, and there wasn't much else getting done other than that at the time. Right. But I knew it was a very important strategic moment in the history of Disney. So I was focusing on that, and one of the things I wanted to do, which Ralph Kent helped me a lot on, and also Dave Smith helped me a lot on, and that was I wanted to have little cards. At that time, we typed these things. We didn't have the internet,
no
spreadsheets, we didn't have Apple computers, so we typed up these cards, which had some Disney. Characters running around the top of the card. It was a 6x4 card, and we typed up history as much as we could come up with. I found some of it in the Disneyana book. And so the merchandise, if you can imagine it, throughout the store had these cards.
I remember, Dad, I was little, but I remember thinking it was like a museum. And I remember it being very well presented as you would expect Disney to. I mean, even the little cards were very well done. I remember, I should say remember, of course you remember, you did this. Hang tags, neck collar, what do you call those tags that go in the neck? Those are all just really well done. So presentation is everything, but I remember that. And I'll just say this as a collector, to be able to go in and buy up all this stuff, even if it's not for me, would have been a really cool experience. I'm sure that was fun.
It was a lot of fun. It was very exciting. And then opening it up, and then it was like going in a time tunnel. It was just exquisite. I mean, Dave Smith couldn't believe it. He was thrilled. Ralph Kent was very proud of his contribution.
And it's a small store, right? Would you say, is it 200 square feet, 300 square feet?
Yeah, maybe a little bigger than that, maybe 300, 400 square feet. But it was stuck, everywhere, And then I got the Disney fixture people. You guys know the beautiful fixtures that are in all the stores at Disneyland, Disney World. They supported me with respect to, I laid the store out, in terms of where everything's going to go, what kind of merchandise had to be displayed in this fashion, what kind of merchandise displayed in that fashion. And but they helped me interpret. They built these fixtures custom, So it was a beautiful store,
which is still there today. Right?
Yeah, it was not. It's
not memorabilia, but I think it's just Disney merchandise.
Yeah, it's something
right?
else. Yeah. I'm not sure what it is now, but I have a picture of the original Disneyana store, and I'll show it to Todd and see if he figures out a way for us to show it to you. But that was the assignment. That was the story.
And that's a story that you will not hear anywhere on the internet except here. That is I hadn't even heard everything in that story. So thank you for sharing that with us. That's a really interesting piece of Disney history. So
yeah, it was my pleasure. I'm very happy to share it with all of you.
So that's episode 4. Thanks for watching, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.